Hello. My name is Kim Addis, and I am the president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching. You have just joined the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast, where we welcome leaders and individuals from all over the world to come onto the show and get coached live and in person. Today, we're deviating from the norm. I have an extraordinary guest that I am so excited to be talking to and interviewing. He is the uncle of George Floyd. Yes, the George Floyd. And what we're going to do today is just have a chat with him and then invite him to a coaching conversation. But I want to welcome Selwyn Jones. Selwyn, welcome to the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast.
Hello, Ms. Kim. How are you? I sure appreciate you giving me an opportunity to hear my old scraggly voice.
I'm thrilled to have you here. First, let's start off with, where are you in the world? Where are we talking to you from?
I am in rural South Dakota, where the battle was, in a little town called Gettysburg.
Oh, okay. We know Gettysburg. Even the Canadians know Gettysburg.
Hey, we're right down the street from you.
Right down the street. So, and you're at home with who? Who are you with right now?
I'm with Joey.
And Joey is?
Joey would be my wifey.
Your wife. Okay, wonderful. So you are George Floyd's uncle. You reached out to me, but I want to kind of back up a little bit. How are you related to George? Is he your sister's son? Is he your brother's son? What's the relationship?
I'm the baby out of 17 kids.
Wow.
And his mother would be number 8, I'm thinking. 7 or 8 in the line. So it's my sister's son.
Okay. So it's your sister's son. Now tell me about your relationship with your sister as you were growing up.
Everybody's older than I am. So you figure everybody's old to me. Like most people over 70 now. She would have been over 70. So it was more like an aunt or uncle coming to town. Besides they brought their kids for me to beat up on.
Right.
My sister was simple old country woman, just like my mama. Worked her whole life to try to take care of her family, her babies. And she moved from North Carolina and went to Houston because she felt like she'd have better opportunities. When you're from the country, you always got to go to a bigger city to see if you can't make a change.
Right.
And she ended up being on welfare, staying in the projects in Third Ward, Texas. And, just life never really working out the way it was she intended on it. But most people's lives don't work out the way they intend on it to work out. And she just went through life. She had 3 boys, and then she had another 2, and they just simple old family, just trying to survive, basically.
Okay. Now she had 3 boys and then 2 more. And George was where? In the first 3 or the second 3?
He was in the first 3, the baby of the first 3.
Okay, baby of the first 3. And did you have a relationship with George? I mean, you had a lot of nieces and nephews, I assume.
I was that uncle, Kim. Everybody got that crazy uncle that their sisters bring their kids over to grandmama's house, and their kids somehow or another get lumps on their head or get to eat dirt or mud pies made for them, and they have to eat them. I was that uncle. So, I tortured all of them. I love them. We have, I'm thinking we got 7 or 8 kids named in our family after me, because I'm just that uncle. I loved all my nieces and nephews. We got more boys, nephews than we have nieces. And I remember the days, man, back in the 70s where we would play softball. Nobody had gloves. You had a tree branch as a bat, and you took some yarn and wound it up to make a ball. And we'd have 15 or 20 people, all cousins. We played on the boys club baseball team for 3 years, and there were nothing but my nephews on the team, So we had a lot of interaction with sports, which is one of the things that brought me and George together.
So you were close with him?
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much the same.
And what's the age difference between you and George?
8 years.
8 years. Oh, so very close.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit. You're growing up. You end up here in Gettysburg. And George ended up in Minnesota.
Hmm. We
So what was his
normally,
journey about?
uh, everybody has issues. Everybody's got dragons or monsters to fight, and he'd had himself in a couple of bad situations. I just call it decision making processes. Everything about life is whether you make the right decision or the wrong decision. Just simple. And a couple times because he grew up in the projects, you know, I call it ghetto superstars. People from the project, they like to see you, but they don't want you to leave. And in George's situation, he probably should have played professional basketball. He was on a team that had Steven Jackson and Williams that played for Boston Celtics, and Steven Jackson played for San Antonio Spurs. He was on their high school team, and he was the best one of them all. So he had his opportunities, but because of the economic way that they were in, he felt it necessary to drop out of school and help his mom because nobody likes to see their mom suffer. And that was probably one of the worst decisions he's ever made because with that decision came a life that we all know that leads nowhere. Everything from the life that he was living was pretty much about decisions. And obviously, if you're trying to feed your family in the hood, a lot of things that you do are not specifically the way that they should be done.
Hmm.
So he had to go. He had to get sent off a couple times. And I would see them. I go everywhere all the time. Sometime, somebody calls me. I broke my fingernail. I'm down to Houston. We normally would go Thanksgiving, Christmas, you name it. Just to feel some. I call it getting my black fix because here in
Right.
Gettysburg, South Dakota, there's no black people to get no fix on. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
So I'd go down and hang around with them. And then I'd call it black people overload after about a week. Black people overload, black people overload. I gotta go home. And so we've always communicated. He calls me. He got into a rehab. Uh, uh, a rehab? Oh God, they were having rehab up there, and he applied and he got in.
And rehab for drug taking or
Yeah,
rehab for
yeah,
what? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Uh, when I speak of when I speak of demons, that's what I speak of in the most explicit way. And it didn't work. It was fine. He was working at the Salvation Army, and he was working going to truck driving school. And I reckon life happened. Uh, no matter where you go, you can take the fool out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the fool. And I reckon what I mean by that is he was doing exceptionally well. But I just feel like his involvement with certain people, birds of a feather flock together, you know? And I just feel like his certain association with certain people weren't favorable for him with the issues that he had going in his life.
So he was
And
hanging around with people who weren't the best influences.
pretty much, pretty much,
Okay. Okay.
everybody does. Everybody's got one or two people that could easily throw you from one side to the other if you follow.
Okay.
And when you are away from home and you're searching for peace, you find peace in anything. And, you know, peace comes with false expectations a lot of times. And
So
I
where
just think
was he looking for peace? Was he looking for peace in drugs? Was he looking for peace in this
he was looking,
connection with the
he, wa-
wrong crowd?
he was looking for peace with his sobriety. And everybody don't want to be free. Everybody don't want to be free. People put their head in the sand and they could leave it there for years. And I think he was sick and tired of being sick and tired. His mother passed away, and that threw him behind a wee bit. But
How
then he
old was
came back
he when his mom
uh,
passed away?
2 years ago, 2 years and 2 days before he died.
Okay.
So they were all battles. They were all battles. So he moves back to Minneapolis, And I talked to him, I don't know, probably a week before then. And it seems like things were going okay. Had a little fiance, and things were getting better. And I wake up one day and I sit right where I'm sitting at now, and I'm looking at the television. And when I come upstairs, my wife and my mother-in-law look like somebody taking their best friend, you know. And I reckon because I'm down here in the middle of nowhere, we own a motel, so it probably wouldn't be a good thing for me to see somebody harm a black man and somebody walk through the door and want to rent a room. It probably wouldn't work out that good that day. So a lot of times my wife and my mom-in-law try to, watch out what's on television and watch how conversations go because I grew up in the rural South. I grew up in a house without no indoor plumbing, without no running water. You had to poop in the bucket, throw it behind the house. When it got to be springtime, you scooped it up, you buried it. That's how
Hmm.
I grew up. I grew up pumping, so whenever I see bad things happen to black folks on television, I get madder than heck. So we try to avoid all of those things. We try to avoid all complications with Eric Gardner, Ahmaud Arbery, just don't want to put it here because I had so much heartfelt thoughts and situations on that part of my life. It just really bothers the heck out of me.
So
Well,
you're
I'm sitting
sitting
there,
there and you watch this on TV and you
I'm
see your
watching this,
nephew.
I'm watching this, keep in mind, for about 3 minutes, I didn't know it was him. I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to kill this dude, man. Won't somebody stop him? Won't somebody help this poor guy? My sister called me and her words were, did you see what the, and I set my phone down. That brings me to where I'm at today. I watched somebody that I didn't know that was any relations to me get absolutely dominated by power and control because that's all it is. It's power and control. If if they make up if they make up a rule and if you break it or if you want to negotiate with them, it don't work because it's their way or no way. Well, and I look at that and I it was like my heart being snatched right out of my chest. You know, uh,
At what point did you realize that it was your
when my
nephew?
when my sister called me and I set my phone down and I looked at my wife. I was like, "That's George," and she said, "No, it's not." Then I heard him holler, "Please give me some water. I can't breathe. My back hurting. My neck hurting." And that changed the way to my life forever. And I I can still sit back and think about it, and it just makes you wanna ask why, obviously. And I don't even ask why anymore because coming from the South, you know why. Because racism isn't a gene, it's taught. And there's a lot of people in this world that feel like they're better than other individuals because of the color of their skin, uh, where they live, what kind of car they drive. And I've been saying this forever. It's absolutely insane that somebody could say, you're better than this person because your skin is better, a lighter. You're better than this person because your hair is of a different color. And I've seen that. And I sat back in and you watch one of your favorite people right before your eyes get murdered like a dog in the street. And and nothing you can say. You just sit there and you just look. And while it was going on, you were just like, should I pitch myself and see if this is real? Should I pitch myself? And then you see him stop moving because he fought, he begged, he moaned, he screamed. The only thing he didn't do was resist. And he did everything that he was supposed to do and still got murdered. And that's what I will never not ever see that face or hear the voice in my head, and this is something that we deal with. I deal with every day. He texts me on my birthday, which is the 22nd of May. And because I was busy renovating my motel, we put a metal roof on it. I didn't even check that phone. I didn't even see that text until heck, probably the 22nd, So I reckon you show people how you feel about them by how you treat them. And he knew that they want nothing but love between me and him. Nothing but love. If you can ask most of my nieces and nephews, I'm the favorite uncle,
Hmm.
because I'm around their age. We had the same thoughts and processes. So,
Right.
I've
Yes.
always been around,
So
but yeah,
let me back you up a bit. So you get this news and you have this massive family. How does your family react? How does your family communicate with one another?
obviously blown away. Uh, and everybody want to ask why. And I'm one of these people. Uh, Writing's always on the wall. People show you who they are. Uh, you know why. It's because of the color of his skin. And police brutality is something that we've got to get fixed. We're getting qualified immunity uh, abolished. We got a George Floyd policing act that we're trying to get pushed through because that's going to make a lot of police officers accountable. Family was, the ones in Houston were really shook up. Those are the ones that you've seen a lot. You've seen the nephews and my
Hmm.
nieces, and they were shook up because they grew up with him through all these years. Then he left and went to Minneapolis, and you know, with all families, there's certain people that feel like the rest of the people in the world. If he would have been doing better things, different things would have, things would have happened the right way. Well, when think about this, Kim, who have you ever known for $19 and 100 pennies be a death sentence? You ever heard of that before?
No, say it again.
My $19 and a
Hmm.
hundred pennies
Yeah,
is what my nephew died for.
right. Yes.
Is what my nephew died for. That's not a death sentence, you know. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you did in the past. It is what you were doing at that particular moment. Have you ever known of a criminal that committed a crime and sat in front of the place where he committed the crime at? And that's what they're saying. He bought cigarettes with a $20 bill, and he came and he sat in front of the store. Now, I yeah, I there's just a lot of things that you'll never know why, when, what, how. But all I know is for 8 minutes and 42 seconds, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, somebody took the road of the judge, jury, and executioner.
Right. Yes.
You
So,
know,
so what you're saying to me is that in your family, you had some people who were just enraged, furious, completely angered. Uh, but you also had a few people who felt like he went down the wrong path.
yeah, he underachieved. He should have
He
been doing more
underachieved.
than what he was doing.
Okay.
And that's with every family.
Yeah. I'm curious. Again, you have a very, very big family, and I know you have become somewhat of the spokesperson for your nephew and for this cause. Why did you choose to do that? Out of all of the members of the family, why did you feel that that was your calling?
I got a big mouth, sweaty. My whole life, I have not understood why everything black is bad. The black cat, the black witch. If somebody's talking crap about you, they're blackmailing you. I never really understood that. I never cared about that very much. I remember in 1971, you know how people put peanuts in drinks and they suck them up? I remember 1971, I went to the fish market in LaGrange, North Carolina, and this dude was in there. Oh, white guy. And he put the peanuts in there and he sucked them up and he shot all his spit back up in there. And he's like, "Here you go, little boy." I'm like, "I don't want that." I'm thinking I'm 5, 6 years old. I don't want that. I don't want that you just spit in. There was another black dude in the store. So he don't know what he's talking about. Give it here. And dear, my whole life, I have been one of these people. You can't say anything to me that I don't want to hear. You're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to think you better than I am, or I'm going to even up the playing field. Now, when you grow up the poorest thing in the county, you had a lot of fighting. Football to me was an avenue where there wasn't anybody around me better than me in football because I knew that something had to get me out of here because I would sit and I'd look Fridays during the summers and it was harvest season and you'd have your cousins, your uncles, your nephews, all these people that lived for Friday night. They worked all week long in the hot sun to live for one night and didn't have to borrow money to get through the next week. You know, it's a daggone shame that a 50-year-old person has to go borrow $2 or $3 to get a pack of cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't how my life meant more to me than that. So I made sure that I seen these things around me and I seen them all the time. And I vowed to myself that ain't what I want to be, that ain't what I want to do, because that ain't no way to live. You either live dying, you either live standing or on your knees. And I've never been on the knees type person.
So
And
you're a person who has aspired to more. You have
mhm,
wanted more. You went and built a life. You own a motel. You're
my house was
making
bigger than my
something.
motel. My house
You're
is bigger than
making
my
something
motel.
of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Okay.
know, I
And
just
so,
can't sit around and settle. My mama
right.
taught me. She used to take us riding through the rich, I'll say it what it is, the rich white folk neighborhood. Y'all got the Christmas trees, them lights and stuff. And we had a pine tree and we would ride, look at those lights. And I never realized why my mother was crying until about 4 or 5 months ago. She was crying because she would take us through there and show us what we could have if we put forth a massive effort because she couldn't give it to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now I'm the guy with the 20-foot Christmas tree in his house. And it comes just from not wanting to give up. Yeah, if people tell me, a lot of people say you think you're better than I am. Well, I don't think I'm better than anybody. What I know is I'm gonna I'm gonna treat myself fair because
Right.
you can lie to everybody else, you can't lie to yourself. I want to make sure I'm always treated good
Let me
by
ask you a
myself.
question. Let me ask you a
Yes, ma'am.
question. Imagine if you had the ability to talk to George Floyd today after his passing. So let's say nothing changed. Same events took place, but you had the ability to talk to him. What would you say?
I miss you.
Hmm.
Uh, I miss you, and I don't know why you had to go to that store on that particular day at that particular time, but you did. And when I'm speaking, this is one of the conversations that I'll touch on. Two things happened that day. The Lord said, "George Floyd, if you knew him, you called him Perry. I am going to bring you to me so you can hang around with your grandmama and your mama because things ain't been going the way that they should have gone for you. Now all you're doing now is just walking around waiting to die. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to change the world. And he told Derek Chauvin, today at 7 o'clock, you are going to show what hatred, evil, racism, power and control is all about. He put Darnella Frazier there, the little girl that was feminine. You're going to help change this thing because you're going to have the courage to film this. I'm giving you the strength and the courage to film this. Cal and all those other guys, hey, I'm going to have to throw you in too. You dumbasses are going to have to be there, and you're going to have to help Derek Chauvin complete his task. And Kim, all the quasars lined up, all of them lined up where that day, and I tell people this all the time, because of the life that I've lived, the things that I've lived, and because just knowing how my people have not been treated fairly in this world, I don't mind giving up one of mine. I
So
don't mind.
are you saying that this was divine intervention?
This was divine intervention, dear. I don't mind giving up one of mine because he had a great heart and a great soul. He's a big jolly guy just like me. Great heart and a great soul. Would give you the shirt off his back. Love to laugh, love to smile. So, and he's
You
probably saying, "Mama,
you
I changed the world, didn't I?" So I don't mind. I don't mind giving up one of mine to change the whole world, and that's exactly what we've done.
you said earlier that he had a fiance, yes?
Yep,
And how is she doing?
she's okay. That's all I want to say about that.
Okay. Um, what advice would you have for other young men, people of color, who are walking the streets experiencing this type of racism and brutality? Would you have any specific advice for how to handle themselves, for how to build a life?
Keep your head up. Make great decisions, not good decisions. Make decisions that are going to make an impact on your life. Let's don't care about nobody else. Because in order for you to love anybody, you have to love yourself. And that's a problem that we have with a lot of young men and women and old men and women. They don't love themselves. Nobody never taught them to love yourself. So you got to love yourself. Respect all. Respect is given. Respect is earned, it's not given. So if somebody's not giving you respect, you don't have to be in their life. You're either with the cause or against the cause. And what we need now is just a lot of people feeling the same way because for the first time in my 54-year existence, I have 75, 80-year-old Caucasian people calling me and saying, Jones, thank you're doing an excellent job, my man. You keep your head up and you keep pushing. I've had, excuse me, I've had people call on the phone and rent motel rooms for a week, never show up just to support the cause that I'm going through. And Kim, that tells me an awful lot because the last people I would have ever believed that would have been with the movement is a 65 to uppers Caucasian person because their daddy was 3 or 4 generations away from being slave owners. Their daddies were 3 or 4 generations from when it started. You hate anything that don't have the same color of your skin. You hate anything that is dark. Matter of fact, boy, do you realize that black folks are supposed to be subservient? Black people's brains aren't bigger than ours. Uh, that's the reason why they're only able to assist us, and they cannot carry on their own ways of methods of employment or wealth. They are only good for assisting us. That's
So
what was told.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Obviously, there's a lot of racism that still exists. Some of it is very conscious, but a lot of it is not. So, what advice would you give to communities, corporations, families who have this unconscious bias in their homes, in their lives, in their neighborhoods? What is the direction you want to give them? What should we be doing to address this?
Communication,
Yep.
education, irritation, conversation. Because nothing happens unless somebody gets pissed off. You don't have to get pissed off to the point where you want to burn things down. But people know about being uncomfortable. With
Hmm.
uncomfortability comes change. You got to communicate. We got to communicate because without communication, Kim, none of this works. None of this works. I was speaking at a corporate event the other day, and somebody says, what makes you qualified to do this job? Let's take the black out of it. Let's take the black out of it. There's a couple of things that you've got to have in life to succeed. You got to have a will and a want to survive. Uh, if it don't mind, it don't matter. If it minds, it matters. So there's a lot of progression that we got to go through, and it's just simple, Kim. Making the right decision for yours and those around you. You don't have to hate everybody. Yeah, you don't have to love everybody. But you don't have to hate them or kill them either. You
Yeah.
know, uh, just respect people for what they are. People show you how to feel about you by how to treat you. Well, this could be all done really quickly, dear. All easily. If everybody would just treat people like they would want to be treated, we'd all be okay. But unfortunately, you have, some of the craziest things I get asked is, do you really believe that racism? Let me see here now. You know what I always say, Kim? Go to lynching photos.
Mm.
Do you ever see any black people feet on the ground? They're always hanging in the air. They're always hanging in the air. So if there ain't no racism going on here, why can't the black feet? Why can't the black feet be on the ground?
Before we take a turn in this podcast, because we were are going to change our direction in a minute or two, what do you want to tell our listeners? Is there an action you want them to take? Is there something you want them to know? Is there something you want them to think about? What do you like? Speak to them directly. What is it that you want them to know?
Be kind to everyone. Be kind to those that are kind to you. If if they're not kind, if they want to disrespect you, you don't need them in your life. Positiveness, positive creates change in a positive way. Negative creates change in a negative way. So if we can just all stay positive and just know that you had a guy to get tortured for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, so we all can have this conversation. Because before George Floyd, this conversation wasn't had. We were having arguments, we were having fights, we were having looting, we were having, rioters. We weren't having conversations like we're having now. And this is what we got to have, Kate. Because if we don't have conversation, communication, education, irritation, what do we got there? This all brings me back to one thing. I'm gonna I'm gonna give you some dates, and I want you to tell me what happened. 1986. If you're old enough, what exploded?
You tell me.
Space shuttle.
That's right.
Okay. 2001. What happened? 9/11 happened.
That's right.
Okay. Uh, May 25th, 2020. What happened? George Floyd. You will always remember where you were when those things happened. Hold on, wait. Forgot one more thing. What happened on January the 6th? You'll always remember the day that the folks took over the White House.
Yes.
That's the kind of negative things that we need to abolish, because if those were black people, Latinos, Asians, indigenous people, we'd be talking about a whole lot of funerals going on.
Sure.
There's 52 people that's been arrested. The Black Lives Matters march we had there in July, 468 people got arrested protesting peacefully. You're gonna tell me a month and a half later there's only been 158 people arrested from a basic treason act? One of the top one of the top 10 secure places in the whole world, and you can climb on the side of the building, and they call us monkeys.
You talked about the cause, supporting the cause. Is there a
Mhm.
specific organization, a name, a place where
Just
people can support the cause?
Justice for George 846, gmail.com, Instagram Justice for George, Facebook obviously Selwyn Jones. But yeah, uh, we are going somewhere every day, all day. There isn't a day go by that I don't have 3 or 4 different webinars that I'm talking to and talking with.
Yeah,
We're going to start with junior high kids next week.
amazing.
And I think that would be, somebody said, man, why don't we do elementary kids? I just don't feel like you need to go there. But I know you could go there, but I just don't feel like you need to go there, because there's 3 things, Kim, that won't never lie to you: anger, a drunk person, and a baby. Those are 3 things that will never lie. So I've got a 5 and a 7-year old, and I'm in a particular situation in my little town. We had the Confederate flag on the police uniform, and I got that taken off, so it's down the road. And I have not once had my babies come home and say anybody said anything or treated them disrespectful. So the families, and hey, they shut the school down because my baby wore a George Floyd shirt, and he stood up in the class, do some talk and tell, or how it was,
Show and
and he's
tell,
like,
yeah.
yeah, he's like, hey, this is my cousin George Floyd. This is his shirt. My daddy made it for him. My daddy is advocating all over America so we can all be safe and free and love each other and not fight. And my little 7-year old said, hey, all we want to do is just everybody, why can't everybody get along?
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Well, some parents didn't particularly like that my son wore that shirt to school. And they thought that he said that all police officers were bad. So they had an uproar, and they had an emergency meeting, 35 people in kindergarten and preschool. So they had a meeting, and teachers like, nothing Jacoby did was wrong. Okay. Well, I live in a town of 1,200 people, and it'd be sad to say I have no friends, you know, honestly, because I'm the sorriest thing in the world since that flag's been taken down. Because a dude stands in a council meeting and says, why would we want to change anything because a dead end's uncle lives in our town? If we wanted to change it, fine. Why are we going to change it because of him? He ain't nobody. Go back to Africa. That's what I hear.
Right. But
So,
it's not about who you are. It's about what you're really talking about. It's about what you're preaching, what you're
mhm,
standing for, and
mhm,
what this all means. So it's not
yeah,
about who you are.
it
It's
ain't
just
about who
about the
I am.
fact that
I'm
you are the
I'm
one
not taking
carrying.
nobody's I'm not taking nobody's shit anymore.
Right. It's simply about the fact that you are the carrier of the message.
I'm running. I'm running. I'm Hussein Bolt, my dear.
Okay.
But to finish my point, everybody's in there talking, and I go like, okay, this is how this goes. If my babies come home and say that somebody said something derogatory towards them, guess who's going to see me? Their parents. Because the first time little Johnny comes to school and tells my daughter that she got kinky hair because she a dumb Ian, I know that come from his daddy or his mama. I'm gonna be knocking on their door. Let the kids be kids, you know. So, yeah, dear. My message is perceived nationwide, worldwide, actually. But in this little town that I live in, South Dakota, I met the governor of a lot of states. I've not met the governor in South Dakota.
So I'm going to ask you a new question. We're changing directions for a moment.
Get it?
Uh, as you know, I coach leaders all over the world, and typically this podcast is designed for people who want to come on the show and receive some coaching.
Hmm?
So I want to make sure that I provide that for you as well before you go.
Coach me, mama, coach me.
Coach you. What is your greatest challenge right now?
Change. I've made the change. I know of a lot of people that have made the change. But this is what the last year and a half has showed you. If you're on that line, you either went to one side or the other. And before then, if you felt like that, you didn't really say a lot. Now, if you feel like all black people are bad, you don't mind saying it. You don't mind saying it. So change is my biggest battle. We
So
need people.
is it let me just define it a little bit better. Is it that your biggest challenge is helping other people change and
Hmm.
reduce their level of racism?
Hmm.
Yes? Okay. So, and I understand that. And I think that's not only an important conversation, an important mission as well.
Let
So
me
now
tell you how I've handled. Go ahead. Go.
the question becomes, how do you help people change? And you mentioned something before that was very important. What were the four words? Communication, irritation. What were the other two?
Kim, you weren't listening at the master
Education,
class.
education, and I'm missing one.
You weren't listening at the master class.
I know, but you need to help.
Irritation.
No,
Irritation.
no, I got
Okay.
irritation. I got
Irritation,
communication,
education, communication, and conversation.
conversation. Great. So irritation is great, right? Because it spurs things.
Hmm.
It starts things. It's like the spark that creates the flame, right? Irritation is super important. It's important to notice that something's wrong and that it needs to change. But continued irritation doesn't lead to the result that you want.
Can-
So it's a bit crazy, right? It's a bit backwards, and I apologize
You
for
know,
having this discussion.
you've got to go through certain things in life to make change. Whether you
100%.
cut some, whether you cut somebody out, whether you don't go by somebody's house, whether you don't call them on the phone, you have to do something drastic to cut somebody out. And the only thing I'm trying to do is to cut the negative way of thinking out of people's brains. Just, hey man, why can't Kim be, instead of Kim being a beautiful white woman, why can't Kim be just a beautiful woman? Why can't John be just a handsome man besides a handsome white man? Why can't Selwyn be a cute black guy with a cute guy with freckles, let alone a cute black guy with freckles? You know what I'm saying? Why do we have to single out what we are and how we are? And people have done that in this
Yes.
world. It's singled out everybody. Well, there goes a Jew. Well, there goes a Japanese. There goes a Mexican. There goes a Negro. Why? We're all people. We all bleed the same. We all think the same. Somebody got it in their brain. I don't know, 600 years ago, that they were smarter. They were hardworking, intelligent, and they were just better species of humans. And I want to know why that was. I heard something the other day that made me laugh, Kay. You remember Rodney King?
Yes.
Okay. The the police chief was Daryl Gates. Daryl Gates said in 1993, the reason why black men die of chokeholds is because the veins in our neck are smaller than the veins of a Caucasian person neck. So when pressures are applied, we lose consciousness quicker.
You believe
That's
that?
like somebody telling me that I have another bone in my body. So ignorance keeps perpetuating this cycle. Ignorance keeps this thing going. You
Yes.
know, so once we can get rid of ignorance and get rid of those people that are spreading ignorance, maybe we can do some damage.
So my coaching for you today is to use those four things: communication, education, conversation, and irritation. I got it this time. And then eventually transform the irritation to exposure. And I know it doesn't have a shun at the end, but the more people are exposed to you, the less uncomfortable they are, right? So that exposure becomes super important.
Irritation is exposure because
Okay.
if you hear my voice, that means that you're hearing me because I say things that other people don't want to say. I have conversations with people like I'm gonna talk to God, Columbia University. I'm a university here in a little bit, and sometimes my sister and a couple other cats are doing the podcast with me, and a couple situations I get animated and I start communicating, and I may say some things that I need to bleep out. Especially the one with the one in and the ER at the end. And oh my God, and they look at me like, I can't believe you said that. Why? We've been called that for like 500 years. You know, I hate it when another black man calls another black man that because that just shows that we bought into systemic racism. We bought
Right.
into unintelligent ways of thinking. If we get pissed off at you calling me one, why am I gonna let you call me one? It ain't a brotherhood. It ain't a brotherhood word. It ain't some word that's been inherited through the brotherhood and it's okay. Because I don't feel like it's okay. You know? So
So
yeah,
you're
dude.
saying irritation creates movement.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Nothing has
And
happened in this world that Martin Luther King, he wasn't violent, but he irritated a whole lot of people to
right.
give us an opportunity to be at this point here and now.
So and from a coaching standpoint, I want to introduce the word contrast, which is when you experience the things you don't want, the things that are irritating, the things that bother you, the things that aren't right, right? That's the contrast that helps you start to envision exactly what you would rather have: a better future, a more harmonious community, a place where racism doesn't exist, where the color of your skin is irrelevant, right? So to paint that picture and to create that vision and to help people buy into that vision is really where you're going.
I think we could do things together, lady.
I think
Just
so
keep it
too.
coming. you know,
Selwyn, I want to say thank you so much for being on the podcast with me, for sharing your story, for opening up your heart, your mind, and your ideas, and for being on this mission. I think a lot of people need to hear what you have to say. And I'm honored to have you on the podcast. And I want to congratulate you for stepping up, because a lot of people could have stepped up, but you are the one who did.
mama, you got to do what you got to do until you can do what you want to do. I always know that. Do what you have to do till you can do what you want to do. Most people never get to the place where they can do what they really want to do. Uh, I'm gonna show try like hell, Kim. I'm sure gonna try like hell to get
Again,
to the place.
tell people how they can support you.
Call me 777-939-3811. Anyhow, Justice for George 846 at gmail.com. You can always drop me a Gmail. Uh, Selwyn Jones Facebook, Instagram, Justice for George 846.
Justice for George 846
846.
at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Selwyn, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor having you on the show.
Thank you, Miss
And
Kim. You
I'm
are a
behind
doll.
you. I wish you the absolute best of luck in your
I'm coming to
endeavor.
Canada soon. Oh,
Okay, keep me posted. Find me.
the
Yes,
GQ
open
man.
GQ Man of the Year. Open it up.
GQ
Let's
man of the
see.
year. I love this. I love this. Da 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 da.
Wow, look at you. You look fantastic.
Sweaty, $6,500 sweater. I better look fantastic.
$6,500 sweater. Holy
Yeah,
smokes.
yeah, I better look fantastic. But hey, somebody said, man, that's not true. I still got the same piece. I
Did
still got
you
the
have to
same
buy
piece.
did you have to buy that sweater? Or did they give it to you?
I got contributed a lot of clothes, but I have bought. Yeah, I've spent a lot of money buying clothes to look a certain part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
you
look
have
good.
to,
You look good.
you have to dress to sort of kind of impress when you go, when you speak at webinars and things. You got to want to look like you're something. You know,
Yep. Well, you
because
are something.
I feel like a million all the time. My
Really
dear, you hit me up and send me a number on the Gmail so we can stay in contact.
absolutely will do. Thank you so much.
God bless you, mommy.
And God bless you and good luck with your mission. We're all behind you.
Gotcha, mama. Thank you, dear.
Take care.